All right, guys, looks like we're live. We're here with a great panel of crypto ambassadors, especially around nodes. We're here with David Moss, CEO of StrongBlock, and our CEO of Kryptoneers, Robert Doyle. And before we get started, we're going to actually throw it over to Rob to say a few words about Kryptoneers.
Hey guys, welcome. I just wanted to thank everybody, especially the panel members and David for being here. Kryptoneers is we're a news service that provides information on nodes, staking, new crypto projects, and so we actually have a 10-person team that works on Kryptoneers that does research, and we spend anywhere from 1,500 hours a month on crypto research. And so after this conversation, if you guys are interested in getting some more information about us, please feel free to ask. But I'd like to welcome David and the rest of the panel and welcome this great discussion. I'm looking really forward to it. Thanks, Grant.
Thanks, Rob, and welcome David Moss. I'm actually really humbled that you came on and talked to us today. You've done a great deal of communicating, especially in Telegram and on Twitter, and for you to come on video today and go live with us, I think that's going to be great for not only Strong but for the community. And more than likely, I am probably one of your biggest critics. I know that, so I appreciate you coming out. There's been a lot of things going on with Strong, but there may be some new people to Strong that don't really know what nodes as a service is, and I'd really just be interested in how you guys got started, how the team came up with the idea of StrongBlock. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, let's see. I've been doing tech a long time, but thanks. And again, nice to meet everybody. Grant, thanks for the intro. Robert, thanks for the intro. I've been doing tech for a long time. I've been doing crypto, actually blockchain, full-time for about 4.5 years. I started blockchain 4.5 years ago when I was 30, and you can see it's aged me a little bit. But what we did was I was working with a number of different people in what they call Blockchain Beach in the Los Angeles, Santa Monica area. And I was lucky enough to be a part of a whole bunch of different things. We were literally reviewing every big ICO that was going out, 2016, 2017, et cetera. I was asked to join, and everybody, you can cringe as much as you want, but this was actually at the time a really cool thing. I was asked to be the number 2 person at Block One to build EOSIO. Now, I took that because I wanted to build some really great software. I liked the white paper. I gave Dan Larimer some feedback on it, and he said we need to hire him. And they made me an offer literally almost on the spot to come work there because they didn't have anybody in the United States. It was just Dan. And so we built out, brought in a number of people that I had worked with before from Oracle Corporation, from Nike, other places that I'd consulted, and brought them in to build EOSIO. And we got it out in June of 2018. And then we all came over to StrongBlock to build blockchain as a service. And blockchain as a service, that's where you launch blockchains with everything that you need in a couple of seconds. Actually, for us, it was about 3 minutes. And that's wonderful. You got this whole blockchain and you can do all sorts of stuff with it if you actually know what you need to do with the blockchain. And so it was I talked about this in a video recently, but I'll just reiterate it here, is that at the time, that's what we felt that a lot of companies needed, enterprises needed, is the ability to quickly create a blockchain, and then from that blockchain be able to launch different prototypes and do all sorts of other experimentation to figure out what really worked. Turns out that with COVID and some other stuff, that just wasn't going to happen. And the next thing in our white paper, in our roadmap that was already there, was we wanted to launch nodes as a service. Now, going back, our nodes as a service not only was in our white paper when I helped launch the EOS mainnet. I was one of the people that got everybody all together. There were about 300 groups that all wanted to be nodes on the blockchain, on the EOS blockchain. They got 21 of them were in the money, and another 20 or so to 25 made some money. And I was looking around at the room and thinking, geez, these people are just so enthusiastic, so professional. We need to make sure that other people that are doing full nodes that are supporting the system and supporting the resiliency get rewarded in some way. So that's where the whole idea was born. Literally, we'd already been talking about nodes and blockchains, but literally in June of 2018, looking around on a Zoom call with 200 or 300 people, that's where I kind of saw that I wanted to make sure that people were, going to stay in communities to be able to help support blockchains. And so we did that, and we did the blockchain as a service, and then that didn't really get going. And so we were working on the next step, the nodes as a service. That was in June of 2020, so about a little over a year ago. And I wrote another white paper, and we started working on it and looking at it from a DeFi perspective. And we launched the first part of it with nodes where you had to bring your own node, BYON. And the BYON, well, that was hard. It was actually really hard. We did all sorts of circles and arrows and diagrams and flow charts and everything to try to show people how to do it. And there were some people out there who figured it out, like Lex and other people like that, who knew what they were actually doing. But it's not easy. And this is exactly what Vitalik Buterin said when he first came out with Ethereum. He said, well, the way that this is going to work is everybody's going to have a node. And the problem is nobody had a node. Nobody was willing to take the time to do that. So our goal was to make it just as easy to launch as blockchain as a service. So you could literally enter a little bit of information. We would automate everything else using a whole bunch of chipmunks and squirrels and other different people behind the scenes to run around and do all this stuff. Actually completely automating everything with actual programs and other things than in our secret sauce. And then when we got to December, we launched nodes as a service with the idea of putting in contributing some strong, building things out, and then also added the idea of NFTs and having those leverage certain things. And so here we are. We're a couple of minutes into this right now. That's where we got. That's how we got to this place. And the people that are working on the project, we had a couple people that transitioned out at some point, but everybody here except one guy was here from the start. And he was added later on, Constantine, and he's absolutely amazing. And so hopefully you won't try to recruit him, but he seems to be a fixture here. So that's what we've been working on, is bringing blockchains as a service. Now the last part of this is nodes. We launched nodes on blockchains. Why? To support the resiliency, to support access points, but getting all of that stuff figured out to make it as easy as it is. Right now, we just launched DVPN nodes today, Sentinel nodes, decentralized virtual private nodes. You'll notice, anybody who's done it or seen how it's done, you'll notice it looks just like the same way we're launching Ethereum nodes. There's almost zero technical work that you've got to do to be able to make this work. Behind the scenes, there's all sorts of things that are happening, and it takes a lot to hide all that complexity and technology. So we're just getting that out, and we're going to be launching a number of different node protocols. That's what this new interface that we just built and launched was, to be able to support multiple different kinds of protocols. Our preference would have been to launch more Geth or EVM protocols. Geth is the engine that you use for Ethereum, or EVM in general, which is Ethereum Virtual Machine. That would have been our preference to do it, because it would have been a lot easier. But we were approached by Sentinel to talk about this, and it turns out that we went ahead and did it. We've been waiting quite a while for it to come through, though, to be able to have all the technology there. And they still do not yet provide rewards through their interface. So we just decided we made a commitment to doing it, so we would launch with that, but we would also launch other stuff. Okay, that's about 7 or 8 minutes of me jibber jabbering. Let's get out of here and get some actual questions. So hopefully that gives you guys a background of how we got here.
Yeah, that was great, and thanks for that detail. I think that the community likes to really learn about who's behind the project and everything that's going on. So we really appreciate that level of detail that you provided. So not to put the cart before the horse, you spoke of DVPN nodes, and that launch came out today. And protocols is something that I think we're all interested in, and I think that's.
Did I just lose you there?
You have your ETH nodes, but I'm interested in hearing how the launch today went with DVPN. Obviously, we had the London hard fork also happening on the same day.
Yeah, so that was fun.
Yeah, so
we've been up literally. Myself and my team have not slept the last couple of days. I got a couple hours last night. So did our CTO. Because it turned out we ended up doing both the hard fork and this release. It just ended up coinciding on the same day, and we were trying to get those out yesterday. We ran into a couple things, so we decided last night we called it at about 7 p.m. Pacific and decided to launch this morning, even though we were ready to launch last night with DVPN. So yes, the London hard fork is kind of an interesting thing. You guys have probably noticed we've been seeing that transactions right now are you'll see them in your wallet on Ethereum, but they won't actually confirm on Etherscan as fast as they were. So I'm not sure if you guys have noticed that, but we're seeing some of those things there. So just in answer to the London hard fork, we have that up and running, but we're also doing a screenshot. We like a number of people that were doing the update ran into some interesting issues with the way that it was syncing. And so we're still working on the sync right now. That's the call that I was on just before this was to make sure that everything is syncing properly with the London hard fork version. And that'll then we'll go through and update all of the Ethereum 1.0 nodes.
Okay, and so obviously DVPN, you talked a little bit about the difficulty because they're on Cosmos, I believe, right? And they're not a EVM based blockchain. So I know there's some issues with rewards, but not to put the cart before the horse. I know some of these guys may have some additional questions about protocols. So I'm going to open it up to the panel here and see if anyone has any questions about protocols.
Sure. One thing before you do that, let me just say something about DVPN, decentralized virtual private networks, is that, yes, there were some difficulties because Cosmos, the way Cosmos is structured, there's DVPN Sentinel sits on top of it. So it's literally a blockchain on top of a blockchain. And so we have to both work in the Cosmos and the other environments. But I really like the idea here. If you look at your nodes, when we were testing over the last week, once those nodes are launched, we immediately go out there and connect through them and start running transactions, literally running virtual private network stuff through them. And so those nodes are live and you can use them. Once rewards kick in from Sentinel, you'll be able to collect those rewards for bandwidth, for participation, and some other things like that. And we're obviously really talking with them on how we can make that going forward with them and with other protocols, because that's exactly the issue that we're still fighting, is that all the rewards go to the validators. None of the rewards go to the nodes, and we're trying to change that as well. So anyway, just wanted to kind of sum that last part of it up. Yes. So yes, I'm open for questions. I can't actually say, yes, this is the next protocol. That's the thing I can't answer. Almost ready to do that. Like I said, we have two different ones that we're talking with right now, both of which we're just getting the contractual stuff done. And at least one of them is EVM. It's an EVM compatible one. So just to let you know that. But that's anyway. So go ahead, shoot.
Hey, David Moss. This is Draco. We've talked before on Telegram, and before I ask my question, I wanted to applaud you for your transparency and how much you communicate with the community. We've never seen this before. Nobody up here has seen this before, because you're the pioneer that's out there doing it. The fact that you communicate with your audience through Telegram is amazing. So I've spoken with you several times on there and asked you questions. And one of the questions that's come up through our—
Nice to meet you. You look a lot like Clint Eastwood there. So anyway,
yeah, I thought about becoming an actor, but I don't look as good as him, so it didn't work out. So we have obviously we have the Kryptoneers a Discord that we work with, and they've come up with a lot of questions. So one of the questions that came up was, in early white paper documents, you mentioned creating potential Bitcoin nodes. If you go back and read it, you talk about that. You want to expand on that, or is that still in the works?
We've talked about that. It is feasible. We can run full Bitcoin nodes. Whether or not it's the right thing to do, we're kind of looking at priorities. I'd be very interested in seeing what the community is looking for right now, because as you probably know, we have one of our investors. Again, whether or not there's some people that think he's a bad guy, some people that think that he's a good guy, but he was literally at one point Bitcoin Jesus. Roger Ver is one of our investors, and so we're already looking at BCH. The question is whether or not BSC is also on that list. It is on the list. We're right now going through and prioritizing and trying to figure out the next ones we're going to do, because we're going to start cranking them out. What do you think? I mean, from your perspective, I mean, what do you think? Is BTC we can see BCH and stuff, but what do you think? Is Bitcoin actually a Bitcoin node? Is that something that people would be clamoring for?
Yeah, I think that Bitcoin is, in my opinion, my humble opinion, I think that it's a different asset. It's kind of an asset in itself. It's a store of value asset as opposed to an asset that moves.
It's
so
the
this
only
would
one,
give, yeah, this would give people the option to open up nodes in that class where you can open that node and save that stuff and never touch it, whereas everything else is kind of your liquidity to to do what you want to do or open more nodes and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I think a Bitcoin node would I think it would shock the world, to be honest with you.
Okay, well, thank you. I love that opinion, and that's one of the things that we're kind of going back out there and talking with people. That's fantastic. I really appreciate that insight. And I've just written that down, by the way, because everybody wants, my team wanted to know notes from this. They're going to be talking about tomorrow in Scrum. So
yeah, just make sure you put in parentheses, shock the world. That's from Draco right there.
Shock the monkey. Oh, the world. Okay. I'm making an arcane reference to a Peter Gabriel song. Anyway, please continue.
All right, and I'll go ahead and pass on to the next person. I thought that was a very good answer, and I appreciate your time, sir.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on what Draco just said. I do think that Bitcoin nodes would attract a lot of attention to StrongBlock. So I just got a quick question for you. Thank you for being here, Mr. David. So how does StrongBlock, can you give us a brief, like a quick understanding of how StrongBlock actually supports other blockchains? Like what is happening for, so is it like the node is like turning other blockchains into node as a service? Or
no, yeah, it's a good question, and I think we get that a lot because the way that we do it is we've built a launcher that's specifically for launching any Ethereum compatible nodes, and then there are differences. Sometimes it's up to 20% difference for each different protocol, and so what we do is when we're launching the nodes, each node becomes a new access point to be able to be used for some purpose. DVPN, case in point, those nodes that are being launched right now, you can immediately start using them to run a DVPN tunnel, to run your traffic from your house, from your browser, whatever. So they're immediately accessible and you can start running traffic through them. And they come with a certain amount of bandwidth. I think it's 0.5 terabyte. I think my household, I've got a bunch of kids here. My household is like, goes up to 1 terabyte a month for watching all these different movies, playing games and stuff. But that's what they're for. So on each different protocol has a different use case. In some cases, it's simply access. Right now on Ethereum, it's simply access. You know that your wallet that you get, if you use MetaMask, I use MetaMask quite a bit. I've got other things. I've got nano ledgers and other things, all sorts of different kinds of things that I do depending on the protocol. But when you're using you're getting your wallet, MetaMask default, did you know that it defaults to the endpoint, the place where you can run your transactions through and your wallet transactions? It defaults to Infura automatically. You can change that. You can actually have your wallet that you're using with your nodes actually default to the node that you just created or one of the nodes in your wallet. And so that's one way that people are using it. It's probably less known. I think that the people that are doing that are a bit more sophisticated, but it's an area where we can expand on this. So using them for a wallet, using them to access nodes, like going through and access the blockchain itself. You're not writing blocks. That's the difference between miners and nodes or validators and nodes, is you're not writing blocks. You're accessing the full blockchain and getting information. And so for example, if you're looking at some of the bigger exchanges out there, right? The number one exchange, if you're looking at it, going through that process is, of course, Binance. And if you're looking at Binance, then you're trying to figure out, well, where do they get all their information? Well, they get it from Infura. It's just a service that provides that kind of stuff. So, okay. So basically that's it. So hopefully that answers some of that question there.
Cool. I don't want to take up too much time, so I'm gonna pass it on.
Oh, cool. Sure.
All right.
I'll jump in for a second. Thanks to Kryptoneers for having me, and thanks David and everyone else for showing up. Really do appreciate your time. And I wanted to ask a question, but want to do something a little different. I want to compliment you guys by sharing just a really quick story, because it's applicable for sure. So just hang with me. We just came back from Vegas yesterday. We were out there celebrating, my wife and I, our anniversary, and we were in a restaurant, and I'm watching the
Happy
Olympics.
anniversary, by the way.
What's that?
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm watching the Olympics, and on TV is the gymnastics, and it's whatever the event is with the guy, going between bars, and he falls. And I looked at my wife. I said, he felt kind of funny. He almost like not normal. And she says, oh yeah, she follows an influencer who used to be in the Olympics. And she said one of the first things that they learn when they're first starting Olympic or gymnastics, I should say, is they learn how to fall. And I said to her, I said, that's very applicable in life and in business, because here they are competing on the world stage, but what's the first thing they learn? They learn how to fail properly. And,
yeah, for sure.
In business, because I run several businesses myself, it seems like sometimes your critics are the loudest people, and you're wondering, where's the people that support us? Where's our fans?
I get that a lot, and
it can be sometimes very unforgiving. And so, I started thinking about that. They don't ignore the fact that they're going to fall. They embrace it by learning how to do it properly. And so I started thinking about just some of the difficulties with the halvening, and how Sentinel
announcing the halvening. We didn't do it.
Right, announcing the halvening.
Announcing it was basically a faux pas of a major sort. So anyway,
but I want to compliment you personally as well as the team, because through all that, you guys weren't some of these teams where they're going to die on this hill and they're never going to admit they're wrong. And you guys were very open, saying, hey, you know what, we could have done this a little bit different. So I want to really compliment you, and you came out very humble about that, and your team as well. So I know that's you were listening to your client base, for lack of a better word, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. I think that's a really good way to look at it. And it was very humbling to have made that, simply made an announcement, said a word afterwards, which basically will now live in infamy. And I won't even say it because I don't want, you know what the word is.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to say that word, but it was as soon as we got the feedback, then we started huddling with, we've got our tech team, but we've also got a team of people that advise us very closely. And we just started talking about it, and they said, you've got to walk back in, and you've got to tell them you were wrong, and just say that we need to come up with other ways to do it. And then we'll figure it out. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't need to do other things to be able to make sure that this is sustainable for everyone, because we want it to go on for a long time. But the communication was bad, and it's like, so it's like, I fell off the parallel bars, and I got back on. So
appreciate that. So here's the extra question about the protocols. That is, I know that I think the list at this point is like 80 protocols, but those are not specifically concrete. They're kind of on the list, if you will. Can you share, without giving away who they are, how many protocols have kind of stepped forward and, signed the papers, for lack of a better word, and have actually said, hey, we're going to give towards the rewards pool?
We're in discussions with give me just a sec. I think 9 we're in active discussions with, and then the other ones we're starting to reach out. I spend a lot of my time doing different kinds of things, but right now, one of the hats I need to wear is just reaching out and talking directly with the protocols, because typically I'm speaking with their CEO or their head of biz dev. One of the ones we're doing right now is I'm talking with their head of biz dev, who I actually had met in a previous life. He was in enterprise stuff. And so right now, we've got a fair amount there that we're talking with. We don't think so your question is a great question. We're talking with a number of them directly right now, and we have a proposal template that we actually worked out, so we can just say, here's what we're proposing. I brought this up before, and for those of you who don't watch Game of Thrones, you won't get this, but we're basically taking a Queen of Dragons approach. And if you don't know what that is, basically what it is we march into the protocol and say, we're going to do this. We can bring our the node army in there, and that's you people, the community, and then we can help you expand interest in your protocol, knowledge of your protocol, and use of your protocol. And we'd really like you to surrender and give us some node rewards that we can give back to the community. And then we get that one done and we go on to the next one. That's the Queen of Dragons thing. We actually started referring to that. There's a doc internally that we refer to that. So that's how we're approaching it. And the first thing that we really needed to do was, we didn't get any attention at all when we were at 5 and 10,000 nodes. We got up to 40,000. People started really paying attention. And now that we've launched the first one that we've got out there, we've gotten a lot more attention from that. So part of it is just at a certain point, the node army and the presence gets big enough that we can start moving. So to answer your question, I believe it's 9 that we're talking directly with right now. And we have different ones that we paused before because they just weren't ready, or we weren't ready. So we expect that there'll be plenty there, but part of that's part of my role now is to essentially do that node, I guess you'd say biz dev with node partners, since they want to talk with me. So
thank you, appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, I just wanted to say thank you, Kryptoneers, for having me, and thank you, Grant. Hi, David Moss. It's nice to meet you. Nice to talk to you.
Hey.
My question kind of goes back to it's about the protocols, but I was wondering, is there going to be a specific I don't know if you can answer this, but if there's going to be like a specific time frame as to how many protocols will be, I guess the time interval of when the protocols will be coming out?
Well, it will become more rapid now that we've got the basic tools in place. That's what we spent the time doing right now. We're hoping to have the next one in 30 days or less, and then hopefully even go faster than that. But the next one, we would like to have a certain number by the end of the year, and those are the ones we're talking with. Ideally, we have another team that we've been working with, that's a contractor team, and we're getting them prepped to be able to use the infrastructure that we've built to start going more rapidly in parallel. Right now, we're going in serial, and that's the thing that's, we have to get the infrastructure built and then say, okay, we need you to do this, build the building infrastructure, fit it into this framework, and get it out. So we're hoping that we'll have. Gosh, this is, as soon as I say a number, I'm going to get kicked by our marketing team and by our advisors. But yes, we're trying to ideally, in the best of all possible worlds, I'd like to see one or more a month of new protocols. That would be mine, and that's how we get to the number that we're looking for here by the end of 2022. And that's kind of the vision, is to get up to a certain number of nodes, a number of protocols, and to get there, if you just do the math, and you're doing, basically, 2 a month, that's 24 next year. We're not going to hit 80 unless we really crank that out. So we're building that. And there may be different ways to announce that. Do we spin them off? Do we have just EVM protocols in one particular part of it, and then you can work on non-EVM in another place? We're looking at all those different kinds of things. So hopefully that answers your question. I wish I could be more specific. We'll be able to be more specific because we want to literally show a roadmap of who we're talking to and where they're coming up next. That's the thing that we're working towards right now. I can't give that right now.
No, that answers my question. Thank you.
Sure.
That also brings up another quick question. I don't want to skip it because it's relevant.
Sure.
You also in the past have talked about potentially being able to swap nodes functions. For example, right now I'm running an Ethereum strong node, and then let's say there's 10 available protocols. Is that still going to be something where maybe I can make my node into a different protocol back and forth where it's fluid?
Well, it would probably happen it will happen in a different way than you described. And so when you say swap, the way that we envision this is a marketplace where you have a node, and we're looking at, there's 2 ways of doing this. One is you simply, like an NFT, and we've discussed this as well, and this is one of the ways that we might go on this, is that we NFT your node. And so you've got an NFT that represents your node. No matter what, you're tokenizing your node, and then that node can be sold in a marketplace. So if Lefty Chris has a node and he wants to get something else, he can put it up in the marketplace, and Critical Complex David can come and get that node from him, and then that frees up some resources so you can just make it a straight trade. Another way that we're looking at it is the collateralization, so a DeFi approach, where let's say somebody like Lex, who has I believe 10,000 nodes. Is that what you have right now, Lex? I think that's what Lex has. Lex has a lot of nodes, but somebody like Lex who has a lot of nodes, and a number of you do, basically you might want to say, well, I've got these making rewards, but what if I were to essentially collateralize them? And by that, I mean, you can say, well, I'm going to take 10 of my nodes and I'm going to borrow against them to be able to go into another protocol and do some other stuff. And so then you can either split the rewards, or you can still have ownership of the node, but you're essentially leasing it out to somebody during that time, and they can claim the rewards during that period of time. But you get some sort of a leasing collateralization component of that. And so those are some of the things that we're looking at. So the idea is so that you don't, let's say you put money into 20 nodes, and you think, well, they're all DVPN nodes. I'd really like to get some of these new nodes, but I frankly I don't want to do anything. So collateralization or marketplace seem to be the best solutions for that. And collateralization is the one that allows you to maintain them, but then leverage your investment while you're moving them around. So that is the one that seems the most appealing to us. And we do a lot of number crunching and trying to figure out how we would do that, and then how the smart contracts would look to be able to do that, because it all, again, everything's connected to wallets. Anyway, that's, does that make some sense, Grant?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually, Draco, did you have a follow up or no?
No, I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, that was
a very good
Draco.
question.
Okay.
Yep,
That was
that's
Draco.
all right.
Okay. Okay.
That's all right. I get confused with Clint Eastwood all the time. But I'm glad you brought up NFTs. Actually, that's the next topic that I wanted to go towards. And the NFTs, the silver, the gold, the platinum have all come out. They're all available, or not. The platinum's not available anymore unless you're on OpenSea. But they're all available. And we had some bronze NFTs. Would you be willing to kind of discuss with maybe the new people, and then I know our panel will get a little more detailed, but how the NFTs are important to the future of Strong? And obviously you brought up maybe tokenizing your current nodes as an NFT, but let's specifically right now talk about the NFTs that are available to purchase, whether it's OpenSea or straight from StrongBlock themselves.
Yeah. Okay. So right now there are 4 NFT types. They're all, we classify them as metal NFTs. They actually come out of the same smart contract. The way that we wrote it is, for if you want, I'll get technical for just a sec. It's an ERC 1155 smart contract, and it's that they're serialized within that smart contract, and then they're individually serialized so that we can, within the protocol, see which number you have. We not only know what number of silver you have, we also know what number that is in the entire series of all 4 metal NFTs. By being able to do that, then what we can do in the smart contract is then put some additional code in there and say, oh, you can stake this bronze NFT, which was originally the only people that originally got bronze NFTs, the 3,500 or so that were there, were people that created a node on or before December 31st, 2020. So when you do that, then each of the individual NFTs allows you, at the very simplest function, to add rewards to your node. It adds additional rewards. So if you think of it in terms of the way that you're the way you're looking at your rewards, should rewards change, or if you want to add some additional rewards to be able to boost them, that's the purpose of the NFT. And going up from bronze to silver to gold to platinum, at platinum you're actually can boost the rewards of up to 10 nodes that you have within the same wallet. And so it's several different, that's the base thing that they're supposed to do. The next thing is that, again, we can identify nodes that have those particular IDs. You'll notice that there's a list right now of DVPN eligible wallets. That was chosen from via a lottery. And in those 1,000 that you see on the site, there's a link to it on the site, and I think in the pin post and a couple of other things. In that, we went through, and because people were holders of those, then they got early access. And what goes into for DVPN nodes, what goes into that is then your wallet is then with the NFT is placed onto just a list, a whitelist that the smart contract accesses and says yes or no, you can create a particular thing. So then that's number 2, which is early access. Then the ability to be able to access any of the new protocols or any protocol, the ability to be able to perform certain actions before other people do. And then in some cases, it'll be a lottery. Those are some of the functions that we have, but that's the basic idea of the metal NFTs. Their primary function was to boost rewards and provide early access, but there are other things that we will be having as we go with those NFTs. And there are more NFTs coming, including right now, we are going to, and this is one of those things, another mea culpa, another like, wow, we did not have any freaking idea that in one night, all of a sudden, all of the platinum NFTs were going to sell out. We were planning on saving some of them so you could earn them. So much for that. But we are going to do that for gold and silver. So we're going to limit at a percentage of those, and we're going to literally stop sales, and then the rest of them will be earned. And there'll be another system there that allows you to earn those over time, and even earn other NFTs that will get you towards that point. And we've developed a whole system there that I can't even say the word for it because everybody's going to be curious what it is. We've actually been developing it for a while. So basic idea of NFTs, metal NFTs, is to boost rewards and give early access with more things. Future NFTs and earning NFTs is coming. And it's one of the things. I don't know how much you guys know about this, but I mean, one of my partners that helped me found StrongBlock is the co-founder of Wax. Are any of you familiar with Wax? So Wax actually is kind of like, they call themselves the king of NFTs. They actually built them. You'll get the connection. They were building on Ethereum, and I had them switch over to EOSIO. So, which is why they're able to do what they're doing. They've got like 5 million people out there trading. But in that process, we are completely separate companies. We just happen to we do some other things. The founder of Wax and myself, actually the two founders of Wax and myself, we've worked on a number of different projects. But one of the things that I brought to them before anybody else was doing it is, I believe that NFTs are keys and other things to be able to get things, to be able to get access to other things, not just, again, you'll see our stuff out there, pretty little trinkets. We believe that the future is you have an NFT, it gives you basically it entitles you to something. And so that's where we see all of the NFTs going. And we see a lot of things in there that will even seem like games or rides at Disneyland or whatever you want to call it. They won't be as fun as Splash Mountain, but they'll be like rides at a park where there'll be a lot of different kinds of things to do that will involve nodes and NFTs. We want to make it fun and interesting. But the primary thing that we're here for is to support multiple blockchain protocols with nodes. So anyway, you just get me talking. You put a quarter in and you get me talking.
That's the idea. That's the idea.
All right, so
I think David, Critical Complex David, I think you had a question about NFTs.
I forgot I was muted. So I remember a while back, Mr. David Moss, I heard you say, I don't know if you said it or tweeted it, about there would be a possibility that would not cost, but you would have to have an NFT in your wallet to create more nodes or new nodes. Is that still a possibility?
That's still a possibility right now. The way we're introducing that is to just do that at DVPN list. We're trying to figure out the best way to do this because when we originally formulated this policy, we're at, geez, I should check this right now while we're on here. Let me go check in case we end up having
59,000. You're pretty close.
Oh, well, do we just hit 59?
Let's see. No, you're about 100 and something away before we started.
So hopefully it won't keep our marketing people up too late. Yeah, 58,908. Okay. So my point is that this is we only have, what is it, 5,000, 6,000 total NFTs so far. So we have to make sure that there's equitable distribution. Let me go into, so yes, to answer your question, and can I just call you David?
Yes, sir.
Or CC David. Anyway,
That's cool.
David, cool. David is a great name. I highly endorse it. But what I would say is the way that we look at the idea of NFTs being entry points is, and the way that we look at game theory. Those of you who have actually done game theory stuff, I've actually built a lot of things based on game theory. And the idea here is that in almost every game, if you're not careful, what happens is you get basically a, well, let's just call it a bourgeois class. You get a high level, well, here in crypto, it's called a whale class. And then everybody else doesn't get crap. They just basically, they can't do anything. And so when we did design the metal NFT portion, we also said that's going to happen, and it'll happen relatively quickly. And acquiring them or earning them will become harder and harder to do, and there'll be fewer and fewer of them. So we recognize right now that having to have an NFT may be, again, we didn't, when we're looking at coming up at 59,000 nodes here, that happened pretty fast. And so we want to make sure that we do not stop a burgeoning middle class from being created. And the idea is so that you can earn your way in and expand, because almost every game out there that I've ever played, you end up getting the top people go out there and they buy their way into the very top and do all sorts of other stuff. If you're talking about WoW or anything like that, you're basically buying your way in, right? And so earning your way in is a really big thing. It's our CTO, Brian Abramson. He's a huge gamer. He's built all sorts of stuff. He and I talk about this all the time. And what we said is immediately what's going to happen is there's going to be this vacuum in the middle. And so we have to fill it with things that you can do to earn other things. So getting back, David, to your question is that, are you going to have an NFT? We're trying to make sure that we don't end up, yes, but will it be one of the metal NFTs? We're still trying to make sure we figure that out. So there isn't analysis, like I said, this big gap where only 10% of the people are able to actually create new nodes. That's a terrible loss of the community. And so that's one of the things that we're really focusing on for the next thing. In parallel, we have a separate team that's just building these NFT bridges and building out the NFT stuff with the same VFX artist team. You guys probably noticed that guy is really freaking good at doing our videos and doing the NFTs and everything. He did over 30, I think he's been a VFX supervisor on over 30 movies. So, but he happens to be somebody that I've known for 15 years. NFTs will in some way help you be able to create new nodes, but we will not allow them to restrict it to the point that you aren't able that we leave out a whole group of people. So we're working on both of those things so we fill that void that always happens in every game, because part of this is a game. Once you introduce we introduce the NFTs, now we're in a game situation where you get a bunch of people grabbing going out there and purchasing ones. Like I said, one night 40 platinum sold. It's like, okay, somebody had something in mind when they were doing that. I wish I knew who it was, if it was one person or a bunch of people. So yes, the answer is you'll need an NFT, but we'll also make sure that there are different kinds of NFTs that you can earn that will give you access. Long answer for a very precise short question. You guys, this is one of the things that my team sometimes says. Once I start riffing on this stuff, it's like they say, Dave, okay, Dave's 9 minutes in Scrum. We get 90 seconds each in Scrum, by the way. And I often don't stick to my 90 seconds. I really, really try. But we try to get it over as fast as we can. And then we do second 15 in Scrum. But my team doesn't want to hear this from me anymore, so I get to talk with you guys now. So no, seriously. No, we're doing a big planning meeting tomorrow now that DVPN is out. We got morning planning. So anyway, who's next?
I have a question. So, first of all, it's crazy that you're here. It's like
Node catcher, hey,
hey,
dude.
yeah, you answered a lot of my questions on Telegram, which is crazy. I didn't think you would actually respond to me, but you did. So thank you for that. So my question is, when Ethereum 2.0 launches, will it be possible for our nodes to work for Ethereum and earn Ethereum as well to Strong? And a follow-up question is, I don't remember it now, but I'll get to it.
Okay, okay. Let me answer the first one while you think of the second one. Okay, so it's a good question, and we get asked this a lot. Right now, the Ethereum London hard fork that just happened, as you know, it had a couple of specialized things in there. One of them is a little bit interesting that happened in Berlin hard fork, but there's a bunch of stuff that's happening in there. But at the basis of all of it, they're all what are called Geth nodes. They're all, even Ethereum 2.0, Ethereum 1.0. The difference is all the things that were introduced in Berlin hard fork and London hard fork paved the way towards moving to, everybody, proof of
stake.
Proof of stake, yes, which doesn't have anything to do with what I smell cooking from our neighbor's barbecue, but proof of stake. And so as we move towards that, there'll still be Geth nodes. Right now, what you get if you've staked your 32 ETH and you're running things, you're running a beacon and you're running a Geth node. But you're also having to literally stake. You're staking 32 ETH. And back when, that was quite the deal, back when ETH was a lot cheaper than it was, the people that staked at that time. I wish I would have. I didn't. I'm now very regretful that I personally didn't, but we actually, we'll get around to, we have some other things we're going to be doing with that. So ETH 2.0, when they do the big, what's the phrase for it? There's a new phrase that's floating around. It's supposed to happen in December and not early next year, but that's the thing that will start switching things over to proof of stake, not proof of work. And when that happens, your nodes will still be there, but then the question is, well, what happens to the miner nodes, the validator mining nodes? Will they still even be earning rewards? Because now it's about staking. It's about how much you hold, not how much work you do. And so when that happens, the nodes themselves will still be valid. 1.0 nodes will still work, but there will be some other components. We're not exactly sure how we want to do that. We're open to suggestions. We're looking at a number of different things. We have some ideas about the best way to do it, which is to possibly convert them, but then the nodes, you'll still need to have nodes, but you'll have proof of stake, proof of stake things where you have to have a certain amount of ETH committed. And we also are looking at, and I want to introduce this concept too, is we're also looking at an interesting idea of, I guess it's a partial validator, where you'd have a team of people that would all have a chunk of a validator. But there's some interesting restrictions, regulatory restrictions on doing that. But that's one of the things we're also looking at with ETH 2.0. So I don't exactly know, Nodecatcher, how it's going to work, but we will make sure that the nodes that are created are still functioning and will transition and can be used by ETH 2.0. There may even be some other things we can do, again, to share in those in the rewards that we'd be getting from proof of stake by having the community and us contribute into having working ETH 2.0 nodes. So those are some of the things that we're thinking about. Luckily, we've got a bit of time. It's not as urgent as the London hard fork and the Berlin hard fork. So if that helps answer your question. Did you think of your second question?
I did. So for future protocols, will there be any additions where you only earn the native token?
That would be our hope. One of the things we're finding is, and this is, it's the question. Our entire pitch when we were going out there and doing this, and we didn't make any money when we started launching this, but our entire pitch was that miners get rewarded, nodes don't. Let's change that. That was the pitch. And so what we found is that if the protocols don't already have rewards built in, there isn't a clear mechanism to do that except for asking them for grants from their foundation. And so one of the things that we're looking at is to figure out whether or not we need to be a validator so that we can then take the validation rewards and then push them in push them into the node community, to the full node community. So the answer to your question is, ideally, in a perfect world, you'd launch a new protocol and you'd make sure that you're rewarding nodes and miners. But most that have already launched and they don't do that. And so this is like another layer on top of that. And what we're trying to do is, I hate to. We'll go back to Queen of Dragons, right? we're still trying to march through and say you need to reward these people. They are loyal followers. They bring strength bring strength and community to your blockchain. And so that's kind of what we're navigating right now. And the places that we've talked with, every one of them is interested in doing some form of grant, which is great. Because they don't have the native protocols that are automatically earned. DVPN does. It has native protocols that are automatically earned and sent to your Sentinel wallet. But right now, they're not turned on, and they're not very much when they get turned on. And so those are the things that we're working on over time. So there's a number of other different ways to make that work, to help monetize them, et cetera. So hopefully that answered some of the question there.
Yes, it did.
All right. Who's up?
Hey, David, this is Jared, aka the Node Baron. I just wanted to ask you a question real quick about, typically you mentioned the Ethereum when you stake your 32 tokens, but in this case, when we make strong nodes, it's only 10 tokens and we give them up versus staking. What was the design, fundamentally, why that is the way you structured it?
Well, with Ethereum, you're essentially doing proof of stake, and that's why you're staking those 32 ETH, and they're meant to, at some point, get some interest back on them and get the original tokens back. But what was required of the Ethereum node creators? Now, there are a bunch of industries that have built up around this where you can, again, collateralize your 32 ETH. You can say, I put my 32 ETH in, I'm locked. When you put your 32 ETH in, they're locked until ETH 2.0 goes live. You may or may not get any small rewards depending on how much is locked, how many nodes there are. And so you may basically simply be locking up your ETH. And if you're lucky enough that you bought them at $500 when you did the 3,200 and they turn out to be worth $4,000 at the time, well, that's basically forced savings and you're lucky enough that they went up. But you were also taking the risk that you put in 32 ETH at 500, and then when it was all done and you were getting your ETH back, you can unstake them, that they were worth $200, and there wouldn't be any interest. So our model was something that allowed us to go through this process that allowed us to self-sustain the community, and especially after we burned so gosh darn many tokens that we had to look at, how do we actually make this work going forward? So our approach was not to do proof of stake. We are considering for Ethereum 1.0 nodes and the next couple of protocols, we have several other things that we're considering that actually may look, Node Baron, kind of like what you're talking about with ETH, with proof of stake, and that there are several protocols and protocol ideas that we're working with where we may have something similar where you simply just stake and wait and then earn over time. So, but right now the decision was at the time to not lock up all of those tokens because there simply weren't that many in the first place. As you know, we've got 524. It says 528 on. I think it says 528 on CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, but I think it's actually like 524 or something like that's not a lot. And so we have to keep them relatively freely circulating. But there are a number of things we're working on to try to make it easier in the future so that we can have other kinds of rewards, and then we can also then have people participate in things like proof of stake, like Ethereum is doing. Because that was the start. When you did that, that was the start for Ethereum 2.0 of proof of stake.
Great, thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, David, I want to move on to rewards because we value your time, and I know that we're already working on an hour here.
Yeah.
And you know the community is all about rewards, and so there are a couple of things, and we're kind of segueing into, we talked about the token burn that you guys did, and we're talking about halvenings or some type of formula to either avoid halvenings or decay over time. There's a lot at stake here, and especially when it not only with rewards, but when we talk about DeFi, which obviously we know that your platform is pretty much DeFi. If we're not taking any KYC, we run on a MetaMask wallet. We have this infrastructure bill that's going through the U.S. government right now. This is kind of a big question. I know a lot of our I know a lot of our guys have our ambassadors here our panel have a lot of questions regarding this. Where do you see the rewards coming up in the future? And on top of that, how do you see this infrastructure bill affecting Strong, especially for US based customers?
Having been in crypto for the last 4.5 years, and seen a lot of the full time and seen a lot of the things that are happening, it's hard to say what regulations will go forward and whether or not the regulations are done as kind of to clear out, make way for a government decentralized or a government coin. That's what China is doing. If you're following what's going on over there, they're very specifically cracking down on other crypto and then introducing the digital yuan, right? So I've seen similar kinds of moves here. And so when we look at the government side, they're, to a certain extent, crypto is too legit to quit when you've got electronically traded funds and and all sorts of different kinds of things with Bitcoin, traded funds and Ethereum and other funds like that. And the biggest investors out there, Greystone and some of the other places like that are doing huge investments in various aspects of it. So the regulatory aspect for United States citizens, it's got to change for the better, because I personally now don't have any friends who aren't doing something in crypto. I live in the United States. I actually, in order for all of this stuff to work, by the way, I actually maintain an apartment in a foreign country. And we are based in 2 different foreign countries, and we're doing everything we can. The tokens were created literally in a foreign country, and we'll continue to do that. But it doesn't, and all the stuff that we do, all the things that we've set up, it's absurd. The way that you have to do all the things that you're doing to be able to make all of this stuff work. I don't know where it's going. I'm very curious watching some of the exchanges and seeing how they're going to handle it. I know that, for example, EOS Block 1 is doing bullish with KYC, and they did voice with KYC. I'm curious how that's going to actually work out for people, because part of the idea here is the anonymity of working with crypto. But you can understand that when it all comes down to it, I'm not sure if you guys ever watched it. There's a great show that kind of summed it up for me, and I didn't even realize that you could sum it up in one sentence. And the show is called Britannia, and it takes place like right after the death of Christ, somewhere around in there. And there are Romans out there doing all sorts of things. They're taking things over. But I can tell you exactly, they summed it all up in one sentence. Why do we take things over? So we can conquer you and you can pay us taxes. So why are they doing crypto regulations? So that you can be conquered and you can pay taxes. This is a classic move. All sorts of societies have done it. They see massive amount of potential tax dodging here. Me personally, when I've had to do my crypto taxes at the end of the year, I'm not sure who you guys use, but I've done some of those things where it runs all of your transactions in, and figures out how much you owe in all your basis. And oh my gosh, that takes a long time, especially if I have a couple people in my family. One of my kids is a very, very active trader, and and I did this. I actually was a day trader going back, 15 years or so ago, I actually did that. So I would have 1 million transactions, literally, at the end of the year, because I was executing all sorts of trades on leverage and everything else like that. That's what this is all about. It's about taxes. I don't know where it's going. I do know that something is going to happen so that they can collect taxes and making sure you're paying. And so that's the thing that's going to happen out there. Is Janet Yellen a lot more, vocal about it? Will it happen immediately? Will legislation go through? I don't know. What about the legislation for the infrastructure bill for the United States? No, we've got to go on vacation, and there's partisan disagreement. What about the bill for people to the non-eviction bill? Oh, we're going to do that after we already let it expire because we couldn't agree on stuff. I think getting people to agree on all this is going to take a while, and so that's the thing that it's going to happen. There's going to be stuff that's going to happen, and if you aren't already paying taxes on it, then that's something that you should really consider as you're doing it, even though it's a hassle. That's the big thing that's going to happen. That's why they want to do KYC. It's not about any of the other, dark web and Silk Road and stuff. It all comes down to what the one guy said in Britannia: we're here to get you to pay taxes. Thanks so much. So that's really how it works, right? And I hate to say it, but that's as simple as that. That's what they're going to be fighting for. So eventually the government is going to make sure that you pay taxes on stuff, especially if you live in the United States.
I agree 100%. Lefty Chris, did you have some follow-up to that?
Yeah, I did. I was actually going to ask if you had any type of tax advice for node operators in the U.S.
I guess the question is I don't. But one of the things that we're looking at is, well, you, like any other investment, what's your basis? And I would say that it ends up being a basis argument is you put in a certain amount for the node, right? You're contributing strong and ETH, and you're paying a regular basis. You're paying on a regular schedule, because they don't want to get the word basis confused there. You have a basis now, a base calculation, and how much you've invested based versus how much you've been rewarded. So that literally is the simplest way that I can see to look at it. Do you have, again, right now as a node operator, you have the original contribution and the monthly contribution. Those are your operating costs. So that's your basis. So there's a couple, you need to talk with a tax professional about it. And I would say that it's something that you'll get a lot of discussion in there about price and stuff. I am not a tax professional, and I don't play one on TV, but I would say that the best way that you could do this is to look at, I'm assuming that it's going to come out to a basis argument. It's like, what's your base? What's your basis in all of this? And then what's your profit?
Okay, so I'm not sure if this applies to node as a service, because I understand that it's a smart contract. I'm not sure if it's actually like a node, like running a master node or something. But I remember an attorney that, is a well-respected attorney, told me and some guys that running a node could be like a business, and you can actually register it as a business.
You could, that's a possibility, yes. And so if you're going to do that, then it just is, you're running the node, you paid a certain amount to be able to have the node, you're making a certain amount of revenue from that, and then you've got expenses, and you've got expenses and revenue, and the difference between that. It could be classified that way. And again, I don't want to get into any more of that kind of stuff, because one of the things I'm always warned about by our attorneys, and we have a number of different kinds of attorneys here. We have tax attorneys and foreign attorneys and trademark and other attorneys, is they say STFU all the time to me. And if you don't know what STFU is, they basically STFU regarding price and regarding profit and other things like that. Focus on the nodes, which is what I do. And so anyway, so yes, that's it's one of the things that I've heard, but I neither confirm nor deny that that's the right way to go.
Right.
Well, David, go ahead. No, CC David, go ahead.
All right. There's a community question I just got from Twitter. Is there any plans to convert no rewards into a fixed price per day once strong supply exhausts?
We're hoping that strong supply won't exhaust with some of the things that we're working on, but yes, we are still looking at the idea of having a fixed reward that you would get, but we aren't exactly, again, that's all part of the calculations. We have some pretty big models. We have one of our advisors is a PhD economist, and he's been running a number of different scenarios on this. And so we don't know the answer yet, but the idea is to make this as simple as possible. And so that if we can make it more stable, this goes back to, and again, Dan Larimer was, I don't talk with Dan Larimer anymore. We just, we kind of went our separate ways at EOS and Block One, but brilliant guy. And one of the big things we spent a lot of time talking about was universal basic income. And underlying all the stuff that we're doing, we're also looking at this. And this is even in our deck, in our pitch deck, that we're still deciding if we want to go out and get any other money or not. In our deck, we talk about universal basic income, specifically node universal basic income. And the idea here is to figure out a way so that it's predictable as possible. The one variable we've got right now is the price. And that is something that we can't control. We never will be able to. And, I could say something really wonderful and beautiful or really negative. And of course that'll affect the price, or just, buy the rumor, sell the news will affect the price. It doesn't really matter. What we want, what we're going for is stability so that the community has that. And then the idea is to expand that out. So we have a universal basic income component that is more predictable. That's the goal. We're working towards that. That isn't the case right now, as you know, because there's a couple of variables there that are harder to predict. And actually, the original version of this, when it launched last September, had some of that baked in, but the smart contract was very expensive, lots of calculations, and it made gas very high. And so we're now working on different compartmentalized versions of that.
What's up? A really quick follow-up to that, because I don't know how many weeks it's been since the announcement of the halvening was made, and then obviously that was reversed. With the limited token supply, since a halvening theoretically should have been done maybe a few weeks ago,
it probably would have happened in the last, if we were going to do it, we were saying anywhere between July, the middle of July, middle of August somewhere, but go ahead.
Okay. So I know there's a lot of different approaches to maybe solve this problem of the inflation, but I guess what I'm wondering is, how sustainable is it until a solution can be found? In other words, are we sort of burning the candle on both ends kind of situation just because we're having this recycling?
It's a good question. There is urgency. And the way we always look at problems is they're in both important and urgency. And this one is both urgent and important. And so when we needed to, when we decided not to proceed with it at that time, we also then, basically it continues to make it urgent and important. But we are looking at a number of different ways to make that work. And that's what we're actually meeting about tomorrow, is to figure out how to alleviate that. So it is an important and urgent issue. It's the issue that was created by burning 94.7% of the tokens. We wouldn't have that problem had we not burned them. And frankly, it didn't, did it make a difference at the time? That was what we were strongly advised, and we believed that was the right idea to be able to do that. So we have a couple of potential solutions for that. I'm going to be bringing those out. Probably it's going to be a little bit, probably during August, we're going through a couple of different scenarios. And I'd love to get feedback on different ideas. It has to be an all-encompassing thing, because otherwise things are just Band-Aids. Even a halvening is a Band-Aid. Right? It's like, oh, I can go through the spreadsheet. I had one, our economist went through and saying, I can solve this problem. I just go over here and I change this one variable from 0.1 to 0.05. Problem solved. And it's like, no, that's not how this works. And even an economist, the guy is brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. Lives in Switzerland. Even that doesn't solve it. And it has to be multidimensional. It has to be basically an overarching solution, an architectural solution. And we have a couple of things now that we can do. The original protocol with 10 million tokens had that solved. And so now we have a couple of ideas about how that could work. And I think I've, in several different conversations in videos and also specifically going into Telegram, I've hinted at some of those things. I can't, that on that, it's once we get them built in, we always build spreadsheets. I'm looking at, you guys can't see I'm not sure. In my Chrome browser right now, I have 63 open tabs. And a bunch of those are spreadsheets with different models on them that we go through and check on the models, and we put new data into them all the time. And we also have automatic feeds from our APIs that put new data in there. So anyway, yeah, it's an issue. It's important and urgent. We are working on it, and we want to make sure that that all continues to work the way that it's working for everybody so well right now.
So I have a question. I know in the past you mentioned something about banks will need nodes too. I remember there's a project you were working on with I think like renewable energy for California. And
we've talked with a number of different groups. Some of those groups that we were originally talking with, not to cut you off. Do you want to? I'm cutting you off. What was it?
Oh, I was pretty, there's different utilities you were planning on bringing on to the nodes.
Yes. And so one of the things that happened during COVID was we had some pretty big aspirational things. In Southern California, we met with Southern California Edison right literally before COVID hit. And we were going to be supplying nodes specifically for them for a pilot project that's actually was postponed, to be able to have a node sitting at your house, a hardware node. And you'll notice that we're also working with DVPN, and DVPN actually has a modem, a router solution for what we're doing. We are creating virtual nodes for them, but they also have a hardware-based solution. We're also looking at putting software, our software, node software, embedding that into, and we've come up with some solutions for doing this for several of our potential partners. One is, you kind of see that's kicking around, is one called Cirrus. We're talking with them. They don't have their solution yet, but they're working on it. Same with DVPN. We're looking at that for electricity, and anything where you would need to have some sort of a node or a small mesh or local mesh node. And there's a couple of things that our CTO works on, really crazy, cool stuff all the time, like with special, like mesh nodes and WANs and other things like that. He has a Helium node running in his house, if you're familiar with what Helium does. It's an interesting thing. You run it after you made the initial investment, especially early on. You can make some really cool, you can make some extra money off that. But he tries everything. So we are looking at a combination of software, hardware, and other things. We had an Indian group that we were working with that we announced that we're still talking with, but they got hit so bad with COVID right after we announced that everything kind of shut down, and they haven't opened up to the point that it really is feasible for them to keep doing it. But we actually built a system for them in Ethereum that actually has nodes at their testing centers at airports. So that actually is still running. We've got a test prototype out there that's been running for 3 or 4 months for that, but they haven't been able to move forward on that. So some of the things, you'll see us look at a lot of different things. We really like the idea of all of the technology of nodes being something that can be of service in a number of different ways. But we've also looked at things where they're like mesh node networks that come up and they're only up for a half an hour for the military. And so we've actually talked with those kinds of people as well. So we look at a lot of different kinds of things to solve those kinds of meshing solutions. But ultimately, what we want to do is, there's one side of the business, which is us making it ridiculously easy for everybody to do stuff. And there's the other side where we hide all that technology. And so in the back, we've got some cool skunkworks projects that we've been doing: electricity, the data nodes where you're actually streaming data out, the DVPN nodes, some other different types of DVPN nodes that we're doing, and then nodes that sit in your home for other purposes, for monitoring, IoT, various things like that. So there's a lot of different kinds of stuff, including edge networks that we're working on too. So a lot of different kinds of hardware, software, firmware uses of this. Ideally, it's not firmware; it's something that we can actually, send, like a Tesla. We can send the update across the internet and have it update and run as a node inside of your home, inside of your refrigerator, whatever. So yeah, those are the big, hairy, audacious goals, the BHAGs, right? The big, hairy, audacious goals. Right now, we're just happy that we got DVPN out today because, man, at the same day that London Hard Fork came out. So so we're looking at, those are really the big things over the next couple of years. And yes, we will be exploring them. In some cases, there isn't a good business model there. And if we do this, then we would do it mainly more for prestige. And we've got to be very careful. Are we doing something that harms the community because there's not enough rewards and it ends up taking more rewards out of the community treasury? So lots of things to keep in mind.
David, I just wanted to ask you real quick, if you had a dream node offering, and this is just going to be a wild idea, what would be the coolest thing you can imagine a node being used in? Obviously it's because everyone can dream, everyone has their thing they want to get into, but I casually was thinking maybe this could even partner with like you mentioned Tesla or even Starlink to create nodes of all kinds in all places, even outer space nodes.
We have I have a good friend who actually is working on this very specifically to put nodes into space in NEO. Right? If you're familiar with near Earth orbit, right? So you're as low as you can park them. And Tesla and other people have put up a bunch of those things in there. But that's one of the things that they actually were working on. Brilliant guy. He's been working on the idea of creating a protocol that actually does this. And I can't go into all the details because we're under NDA with them. But yes, that's one of the ideas, is to look at doing some of those things because there's a lot of stuff that you can do when you're able to mesh and be able to do certain kinds of things in small environments. And there are a lot of applications for it. So I think the ideal thing is like something that we could, the more utility a node has, the more we're interested in it, the more it can be immediately used, be of immediate benefit, and also then have some sort of business use that then the revenue is coming in from it. Those are the things that we're most interested to do it. But yeah, some things are just fascinating as hell, like satellites this big, that have node firmware in them, that kind of stuff. That's really super cool. So that's a cool question. Thank you.
I have about 999 questions, so I'm just gonna slim it down to this one.
I've got a few more minutes. I think I can stay in 6:30 my time, so I've got about 11 more minutes, and I'm gonna have to get out.
Is it cool for me to ask this question, you guys?
Go whatever question you want. I've got 11 more minutes. You guys can whatever way you want.
Cool. What was the incentive for the 94.7% token supply burn, and do you regret such a huge burn?
Well, I think I already alluded to, yes, I do regret it, the amount, but at the time it seemed like the only way to solve the inflation problem was to bomb it back. Our economist recommended at this point, recommended that we burn it down to 200,000 tokens. And I fought like hell on that one. It actually came down to a combination of circulating tokens and several other factors that I was the one who built the model, and I went back to the advisors and the team partners, etc. And mine came out to roughly 500,000 ish. And so that it ended up basically being, this is the one that I think will sustain it so we can get rid of these other tokens. It was also, the thing that I regret is that at the time it was like, okay, that's the thing you do. You burn all these tokens, or you go, one of the other things that we talked about, one of the closest advisors I have, he and I, the very night we launched back in September 29th, we're coming up on that here in month and a half last year, we stayed up all night and we looked at a couple of different things. And one of them is we would do something like Andre Cronich did, because we're huge Andre fans. And he basically said, great, we're just going to move everybody over to this new token and burn all the other tokens out there and just start over. That was one of the things we contemplated. And so we're still looking at different ideas like that, but they have to maintain everyone's value and share if we're going to do something like that. So do I regret it? Looking back, it would have been really, really nice to have 1 million tokens still sitting there. Not that. So double would be fine for what we're doing.
Thanks for that. And
But-
I would like
but-
to move. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I didn't
Go
mean to
ahead.
cut you
No,
off.
I'm good. I'm good.
All right. Yeah. So I was running out of time here. We wanted to move on. We had two more kind of topics to go over. The next thing being security, and I know this has come up quite a bit. And personally, it affected a family member of mine who had their wallet phished. Fortunately, it was just phished, and the contents were taken out. But everything seems to be secure now. Thanks to Lex and his guides about Trezor wallets and ledgers.
Lex is amazing, by the way. Let me just say that we are not the same person.
So you can see. I see. In any fashion, that kind of really affected me, because you do have people, and obviously when you talked about the halvening before, you do have people who are putting a decent amount of their own money into it, and obviously we can't and we can't make financial suggestions here. We don't give financial advice. I think that's what Mr. Moss was alluding to. I don't think anyone here is a financial advisor. So yes, it does affect lives. Is Strong doing anything in regards to their app portal on their website and their nodes to help ensure or attempt to secure people who have multiple nodes? Even if it's one, that could be a big deal for some, but you have people out there, obviously 10, 20, 30, 100, 200 plus nodes. How are we able to help secure these nodes for people?
Well, the first and foremost thing that we all say is, and I scolded somebody in Telegram today. I'm not sure if you saw that. I just happened to see this floating by, but I scolded somebody for saying, hey, so-and-so, why don't you just DM me your seed phrase? I don't find that funny, because somebody may look at that and say, oh, that's the solution. If support asks for their seed phrase, then I could do it. Here's the scoop. We do not store that information. You have to approve every transaction that happens in the system. That's by design, so that we as a protocol have zero liability. We do not store your private keys. Any approvals that you have for sending things going back and forth, you're the one that has to approve those. Now, there's a downside to that. We also then we originally had transfer set up. Once we had people start to take to fish, and I don't know how many people it is. I believe there's 8 or 10 people who have been affected by getting fished, getting their seed phrases stolen. In each case, what happens is they'll clean out their ETH, and sometimes they're strong. Sometimes they don't even realize they're strong in there, and then they kind of like leave it alone and just kind of like have an alert that says if anything's put in there, then they'll go and grab it. But they don't really know what to do with nodes, and they can't transfer them. We don't know, no matter what you are. And basically, so let's say I go to Draco. Okay, so Draco, you've had a wallet compromised, and you come to us, and right now you're anonymous. I don't know who you are. I don't even know your wallet address. I can't associate that with you. I don't know your email and associate it with the wallet address. The support system has some of those things when people are asking about them. So there is a bit of a thing there, but I don't know whether or not you are you, because I didn't what? What didn't I do?
KYC.
I didn't KYC you. And so because of that, then what we've been looking at with our attorneys is how we can get around that in a way that doesn't end up making us liable for doing something. Because right now, unless we completely KYC you, then we would have to, unless we KYC, we don't know. If you say, okay, transfers are open, I can migrate my nodes from point A to point B, and we don't know if you're the thief or if you're the owner. And so the only way to make sure of that is we have to KYC you for both the starting and the destination wallet. And that creates a whole bunch of legal potential issues there if it turns out that it's the thief that's actually used that program to send it across. So we had that set up, and we shut it down for legal reasons, because we did not want to have anything in there that would compromise that. So we are looking at a legal solution, but right now the only legal solution that we have is to go for full KYC for both wallets, and that we don't even have that set up to be able to do that. That's not how we operate. So so for the security of it, the simplest thing that you can do is always remind people that it's like we brought on some new support people in the last I guess in July. And one of the interviews was, the questions was, I thought it was hilarious. They said, okay, what's your social security number? And the people that were interviewed, two persons said, I'm sorry, that's not my, I'm not going to give you that information, which is the right answer.
Right.
And so so that's the thing that we're running up against, is that crypto is literally is so incredibly scary if something like that happens. It's
hey, David,
so
have you
scary.
considered potentially giving all nodes a unique identifier code that comes with the node? I mean, obviously, if you already have nodes, that we would be able to retro do that, where each node would be assigned a unique identifying code. For example, a 10
We already have
phrase.
that. We already have that internally in the smart contract and in the database that monitors it for the UI. It's already there.
Now, would that be something that you could share to the users, and then the onus is on us to save it, so that we have to provide that in order to recover our nodes if they're lost?
Well, the difficulty, and again, this is a rabbit hole discussion, but it's a good discussion. Maybe it's kind of a separate thing that we could do. But the idea is that we would still need to, even if you had that, how would you receive that? Would you receive that when you created the node? If we give it to you anytime after that, it's kind of giving you another secret phrase that you would also keep at the creation, and then you would have that. That would be a possibility. That would be an additional secret phrase. However, you already have that because you're in the smart contract with that ID, with your wallet, and it's already sitting in there, but I don't know who you are. We don't, and the protocol doesn't know who you are. So you can see these are the conversations that I've had. Again, one of my, like I said, the founder of Wax, by the way, one of my partners, and I've known him for a long time, is also one of the co-founders of Tether. And so we've had these identity, and actually I know all the co-founders of Tether. One of them is Craig Sellers, and we've had identity discussions for years about this stuff, identity, wallets, KYC, and all this other stuff. I was hoping by 2019 we would have KYC identity completely solved on blockchain, and it's not even close. There is no uniform way of doing that yet. So we're still fighting that. And so more on that. We're going to keep developing it because we know that that's an issue. We want to keep doing it. We talk about all of these things, but yes, it's a very sad and distressing thing. I can't even imagine having had some of these things happen to me that I've had to recover from our family members, but not crypto stuff. But and I've had people, when we first did the bounce thing, my oldest son sent, when he was doing a bounce auction, sent it to one of the fake addresses that were on bounce the very first bounce thing that we did, and he lost his ETH. So,
oh man,
so that kind of stuff happens. All right.
Well, I guess the sentiment is that that's the security that is the issue. So, obviously that's what people wanted to ask. Thank you, sir.
For sure. Okay.
I know you have a couple minutes left, and I know we were going to have one more topic just about short-term and long-term vision. But what I can say is this: you've kind of answered this. Strong has a long-term vision of many years to come. It sounds like you're working with all these protocols. And, whether it's the military or shooting things into space or whatever it's going to, no, I mean, honestly,
I love it. This is a great summary. I love it.
So, we would like to know about the short and long-term visions of the company. And then I believe Showtime is going to follow up with one final parting word. And then we're going to have Robert have a parting word, if you don't mind staying over just a few minutes.
Sounds great. So short-term is right now is launching a number of other protocols and solving the basically, it's not an inflation problem, it's a supply problem. Those are the things that are most undermined. So short term and even medium term, to a certain extent, it's continuing to roll out what's already working, but making sure that we have the supply issue taken care of in multiple different ways. Medium term is then expanding into other different kinds of nodes, including hardware, firmware, modems, and other things like that, modems, routers. And then longer term is, well, then are there other different kinds of things that the community would like to see done that are related to nodes, or do we just stick to nodes? That's a big question mark for us, because we get up to 1 million nodes and 50 plus protocols. Is that it? Or are we just this one thing, or are there other things that we can do? Do we go back to doing blockchain as a service? Do we create our own protocols so that people can actually participate in those? Those are some of the longer term things that we've been looking at. The original white paper for this, by the way, was launching. We were going to launch we were going to launch test networks or networks for each of the protocols that we launched in parallel. So we'd literally have a blockchain out there. There's hybrid ideas of those things as well. So those are some big hairy goals out there. So that's short, medium, and long term.
Hey, Dave, here's I don't know if this will be the parting question, but I thought this would be a very interesting question that everyone would like to hear about. I don't know if we're all from around the world here, but I'm sure in the Strong community, there are people from all around the world. Mm-hmm. When you look at what the Strong team has built, what does this mean to you personally?
Oh, well, I go back to the thing that I remember sitting in Blacksburg, Virginia with Dan Larimer, and he and I were very big advocates of universal basic income. And what we wanted a participation, some way of participating. And he and I disagreed on how that would work. He felt that you just need to essentially identify yourself, and somebody else would say, "Hey, Showtime, I'm vouching for you. You're vouching for me. We're good. We can get stuff." I like the idea that's been going out there is that you're doing something to actively participate, and you're getting some sort of reward for it, and that's helping you and your family to have a more predictable income. That's the thing that I personally, that's the biggest thing in the world. I know that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people who are making some pretty good, steady, regular income from this. I'd love to see that to expand to many, many more people, and that's the thing that I like the most. Is that it?
Yeah, David, I just wanted to thank you. I mean, you're one of those rare spirits in crypto. I can say for everybody on this panel, you've changed all of our lives, and we thank you so much for your time tonight. And we just appreciate everything that you're doing, and just keep being you, man. I mean, you're awesome. You're amazing. Love all the references.
Everyone else is taken, Robert.
Well, I appreciate the hell out of you, man. Yeah. And thank you for changing all of our lives with Strong. We really appreciate you.
Thank you guys for being so supportive of all this stuff. And we know that we make mistakes, and we own up to them, and we try to do as much as we can to make this work. So let's see, Grant and Draco and David and Showtime and Lex and Robert and Node Baron and Lefty Chris and Node Catcher. I think I got all of you. Thank you so much, and everybody else who's watching. Thank you guys so much for having me on, and I need to go to. I puts another meeting there. Yes, we are. Me not personally. StrongBlock will be sending in 10 strong. One random will be selected. StrongBlock will be contributing that 10 strong, which is just enough to do what, guys?
Make a node.
Make a node. All right. So then
keep making weekly videos.
Yeah. Well, awesome. If people will, I need to make sure I never use the word that starts with C and ends with cowabunga. But anyway,
keep making weekly videos. It's the best.
All right, guys. Thanks so much
for being
a part of the community.
Thank you,
David. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. Talk to you soon.
Ciao.
Yep.
Bye.
All right, guys, if you don't mind sticking around, I know some people in the comments and YouTube have some questions that maybe, we can answer for them. Or if Alexa's sticking around, I'm not sure if he's still here. He's pretty into Strong. So if there's Strong specific questions, but we can also segue away from that now, guys. We can talk about just nodes and crypto in general. I know there's a handful of people here that have opened up multiple nodes on different protocols. And I think it's great. We have a little over 170 people watching right now, and they can talk, or we can talk to them about learning. Just like David said, people are making a fair income on just launching nodes. So if there are other possibilities for people, I think we should share it with them. And I can just open up the floor to you guys if you guys want to stick around to talk about it.
So, I'm currently doing a blog on like 20 plus different nodes. But there's so many nodes out there. I think, I'm willing to share what I've found so far. I give people like an early, access in a sense to the different nodes I'm looking at for my blog. If anyone's interested, I can do that.
Yeah, I think if you're able to post it in the comments, or you guys, I'll put it back up. Follow these guys on Twitter or on social media. The Node Catcher, Showtime, everybody, Critical Complex Dave, everybody. I know I'm leaving a couple people out, but these guys all post all the time about the different projects they're getting involved in, how to do it, guides on how to do it. In fact, with Kryptoneers and the service that we provide in our Discord channel, we talk about these things. A handful of the guys that are on this panel right now are in our Discord channel. You can ask them questions. I believe everybody that we've come across now are literally there to help you out. I don't believe that anyone you see on the screen in front of you is a scammer and it's going to try to take things from you. We genuinely care about about crypto, and we're passionate about it. And we also want to see everybody succeed. So, on the bottom here, you can see these are the Twitter handles for everybody that's here today. Go ahead and follow these guys. They're tweeting every day, multiple times a day, and ask the questions in the comments, and we'll start getting them out there. And finally, I wanted to add, don't forget to leave, again, your comments with your strong wallet address below in the comments. One person is going to receive 10 strong from StrongBlock, one random person there. And we will announce that on Twitter and in the Discord, and we'll reach out to you on YouTube as well. So feel free to do that. And finally, my last segue into this in Kryptoneers, we are a subscription-based Discord service. So we are offering with David Moss coming on today, we're offering 50% our subscription for life as long as you're subscribed. The coupon is going to be STRONG50. You can go to kryptoneers.com and sign up for that. So with that being said, I'm going to leave it over to the panel. I'll jump into the YouTube chat and try to pull some questions out, but I'll let you guys talk back and forth about the projects that you're involved with and how well you're doing in crypto and where this is all going.
Yeah, guys, I want to hear from Lex. I mean, I need Lex to talk. He's been staring at me. I don't know if I should feel threatened or if I should be happy about it. But Lex, I need to hear from you, man. Give me some wisdom.
I'm here, man. I'm a live person. I look like Johnny Depp gone dead or something like that, but I'm here.
I know that you do a lot of the inner workings with Strong, and you get to see a lot of things that we don't get to see. You're privy to a few things that we're not privy to. Can you give us some insight on some of the things that are going on behind the scenes, conversations maybe that we're not aware of, or maybe things to look forward to? Because even you have made comments about the NFT staking in the Discord and things like that. Is there anything that you feel comfortable discussing that maybe we don't know much about yet?
Well, I don't really get any solid concrete information more than anyone in the community does. What I get is maybe little hints of it a little before the community. So I guess the best thing I can say there is it really does sound like there's some really good connections coming with protocols down the road. I think everything that David alluded to are things that we can see starting to ramp up here. And I think the first one being DVPN after ETH is just the beginning of it. I know high on the priority list, especially with Grant and your family members with the node migration, or the marketplace as he's calling it. I know that's pretty high up on the list, but obviously they have a lot of things they're working on at the moment, getting DVPN up and running, and that's probably top priority right now. Other than that, yeah, I don't really get any inside information above and beyond what you guys really see. I just maybe get little glimpses of it a little bit quicker than you do, just talking to David, every now and then, on DMs.
Hey Lex, quick question. So I seen a picture floating around on Twitter of, I believe it was put out by StrongBlock, and it shows the future potential protocols. Is that picture with I know you can't answer everything, but it has Polygon, Tezos, and protocols like that on it. Is that a list of protocols that is definitely going to roll out, or possibilities like Strong was looking at, or what is that?
Yeah, and someone else had asked David that on that exact same question. I don't remember verbatim what his answer was, but essentially was that yes, all of those protocols on that picture are protocols that are on the list of potential protocols coming down the road. If you ask me, looking at the list, I think that list is kind of the go-to list of ones that they would definitely want to pursue and would be on the top of the list as long as the protocols are willing to throw in some rewards, some native tokens, things of that nature. I think right now, and David alluded to this, I think they need to get a couple new protocols under their belt, get things rolling a little bit, and then as the bigger protocols take them serious and more seriously, then we'll see more and more of the native rewards and the grants, as he called them, rolling into the system.
I just wanted to point out that outside of David Moss, in the chat, Lex Luthor, you had the most fans that were calling you out. So I just want you to know that people noticed that you were here to participate, and we appreciate you coming on and respect your insight into this program.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I wish I didn't have to wear a Johnny Depp mask, but with my my position as a financial advisor, so there is one in the group, and not being able to do what I'm doing for employment reasons, I got to wear this mask. So.
Well, if you keep opening nodes as quickly as you are, then you probably won't have to wear it for long. So
I wish I had 10,000 nodes like David said. Maybe he should give me some so I can hit that number quicker.
One more question real quick before anybody else jumps in. Can node as a service be applied to any blockchain? Like, could any blockchain, like I remember he saying something about Bitcoin, so that made me think, like, could this apply to any blockchain? Could there be any blockchain come along and use the node as a service bandwidth to increase their, network?
Well, there could be some that would not want to do that. Those would primarily be private blockchains, maybe things like a bank or an institution where they really want to keep all of their technology in-house for security reasons. But I think that's probably the exception instead of the rule. So yeah, there technically could be some that wouldn't want to do that, but for the most part, anyone would be happy to have people come in and bring nodes into the ecosystem to help support it.
Well,
does anyone have any? I know we can switch
question.
off of Strong. Oh, go ahead if you have. Yeah, go ahead if you have a question.
So Lex, I've seen your interview with Kryptoneers a while back, and I've been asked many times how do you know if these nodes are real, and then I showed them your video, and they're saying, "Oh, that answered that good enough." So I'm not sure what to tell people when they ask me, "How do you know if these nodes are real?"
Yeah, great question. And David actually alluded to that on the show today, mentioning that you could actually replace on MetaMask the web address for the endpoint of your node, so that your MetaMask will actually utilize your node for doing transactions instead of using the Infura nodes. There's another gentleman that has graciously he created the bot that is the strong price bot that we use on the Telegram channel, and he also created another bot for not just the price bots, but it adds the token balance and the address of the individual that just placed a trade on Uniswap. And his bots, he's using the NAS nodes as the data point for that information. He's also provided, and I have not done anything with it yet, but a small set of instructions for anyone that would want to go out and write a real small script using Python on a Linux machine. And with that, you can then ping any of the NAS nodes and get that data off the Ethereum network, essentially proving that those nodes are not only up and running, but getting data that you can then verify against another known Ethereum node. And I should one of these days actually take that, turn that into a Medium piece and get it out there so that you and other people that want to verify that is the case can do that.
Thank you for that.
That sounds like something I would want to do. I definitely would look into that.
Yep.
So I wanted to ask this real quick since it got quiet. I'm trying not to hog the mic, but like I said earlier, I got 999 questions. So this it's not that bad though. It's not like I'm trying to dig for things I know you can't answer. But so did Strong coin the term node as a service? And are there any other smart contracts out there that resemble or kind of mimic or has that type of contract that offers a node? Is there anything else like that, or is Strong the first to come up with a smart contract like that?
Yeah, no, Strong was not the first to do that. There are a good handful of probably 10 solid companies out there that I can think of that do node as a service type offerings. Infura is the big one that everyone has really heard of. As David talked about, Binance uses Infura for some of their data. MetaMask does, as well as many other individuals out there. There's Alchemy. There's a handful of them. I have a strongnodes.com website I built I think it was last year, along with Wealth Dash, another wonderful community member. And we listed a number of them on that website. So if you went to strongnodes.com, looked on the facts section, you'll find a list of a number of those. And so there are many companies out there that have done it. One of the key differences, though, and I brought this up on the other interview that I did with Grant and Kryptoneers, most of those companies, if not all of them, are out there as a for-profit company. And so it's a little bit different arrangement than really what StrongBlock is looking at doing, which is to be a protocol that is built there to incentivize the node operators and not to just be a for-profit company. And so in doing so, their objective and their niche within the industry is very much different than those other 10 or 12 mainstream companies that are doing node as a service.
Thanks for that answer.
So I'm going to start popping up some questions now that I have a little bit more time to focus on the chat. And I apologize to everybody that I know you guys have left questions and we may not have answered them, but I could start throwing them up on the screen and feel free, Lex or whomever, to jump in and answer what you can. I'm not sure if you guys can see them on the screen or not, but answer the questions if you have the information on it, or if you don't, we can move on to the next one, or if we want to speculate on what some of this stuff might be.
Yeah, I know I don't have any speculation on what that new top 30 coin would be. I looked over the list pretty intently, and quite honestly, I'd be happy with any one of those that pops up. I think just getting the community behind that coin, getting them on board and interested in StrongBlock is going to accelerate the protocol on itself.
Hey, Grant, one of the questions that's come up several times in the chat, and I'll just go ahead and bring it up, is when the giveaway might happen for the 10 strong. A lot of people are asking that. I know that we'll be working on that behind the scenes. When do you think we'll be able to get that out? And that's a complex question. So, I mean,
yeah,
obviously we have to get the strong
question
from StrongBlock
right
first.
So the last time we did, yeah, exactly. Last time we did something like that, it took, I want to say it was about a week or 2 weeks before it actually was sent. And the way we did it was actually, we got the wallet address when we did the last giveaway, and then we sent that directly to StrongBlock, and then we were informed from them when they sent it out, so then we can confirm with the individual that won that they did indeed get the strong. And obviously everything is on Etherscan, so we can see that when it's sent and so on and so forth. So my thought process is, after this stream today, give me a couple days to, I'm planning on basically pulling all the wallet addresses out of the comments there, or out of the chat. And then we did a giveaway in our Kryptoneers channel. We did a giveaway in our Kryptoneers channel where we used a wheel, and I more than likely will throw it up on a wheel and then throw it onto YouTube like we're doing now, so that people can see if they won or not. That's going to take me some time. So I would imagine maybe this weekend, or I would honestly, at the earliest Tuesday next week, I'll probably have all that stuff done. I hate for people to wait that long, but maybe I could work with the team and we can get it done a lot faster. I just know that we all have a little bit different timetable with other obligations. So we'll get it done. Just it's going to take some time to pull over 100 wallets if that's how many were posted in the comments.
I knew Lex looked familiar.
So prior to this, guys, we before we got in and we went live, we were talking amongst each other about the different nodes that everybody is running. And there are a handful of people here who may be running Gala nodes or PAC nodes, SRX nodes. I'm not sure if anyone would like to talk about those and how well they're doing and maybe how to do it, if that's something that would interest the audience.
Well, one thing we talked about, which isn't nodes, which is OHM, and a lot of things. I'm testing a lot of things. I don't like to post things without me testing it for a certain period of time. I feel a little bit responsible for doing that. So hopefully those pan out. Some of the projects I'm working on are actually kind of exciting. So if they pan out the way I think they will, I think people will be very happy about that. But I tweeted a lot about OHM, and I would recommend do your research on it. It looks scammy because of the APY. I understand that at first glance because of everything that's been going on in the space with meme coins and all that kind of stuff. I would say, though, I would submit that if you did your research, look it over, I think you will find that it is a legitimate project. Anything's possible, of course, but I would not be invested in something as I am if I thought it was a rug pull or scammy or anything. We were talking a little bit about it beforehand, but basically it's just aiming to design a non-USD pegged stable asset. It's a free floating currency, so it's not pegged to anything. Rather, it's backed by a basket of assets that's held in its treasury. It's fully collateralized by those crypto assets in its treasury. That's under the purview of Olympus. I think that's how you say it, Olympus DAO. They control their own liquidity, which is in of itself really unusual. Very bullish on the project, very excited about it. It is fairly new, but even though it's not nodes, I would suggest, look into it. And if you are confident about it, consider putting some money into it.
Yeah, and I'd like to follow up really quick because I just actually recently learned about OHM, and I did a lot of research, my own research, which I implore all of you to do your research on these projects. Don't buy in because your buddy bought into it. Don't buy in because your dad bought into it. Do your own research, because when somebody asks you, what does it do? Why do you like it? And if you don't have answers for that, really, take a thought and think about why you invested in it. I can tell you, Showtime knows what he's talking about. These aren't nodes. This is these aren't nodes. This is OHM.
Well, yeah, but
oh, sorry. I think everybody should take a look at that right now. As we're talking, the reward, the APY, or the annual percentage yield, is approximately 17,500% per year. When you buy your tokens, which I don't know how much they cost right this second, but they were about $450 earlier today for one token. You don't have to stake an entire token. You can stake fractions of a token. So you could stake $100 of OHM, or you could stake $10,000 of OHM. But it does have its own token value. And on top of that, it auto compounds. So once you put it in there, you can set it and forget it. It will auto compound your earnings for you, so you don't have to keep messing with it or take it out. There is no staking period, so you don't have to stake for 8 months to get rewards. You can stake for a short amount of time and take it out, and then you can put it back in if you wanted to. Based on my own research and the calculators that I looked at, you can get right now, if everything was perfect and nothing changed and you bought your tokens today, your ROI, or your return on investment, is approximately 50 days. So, I mean, I challenge all of you, give me projects that you can put your money into and see a potential return in 50 days. If you know about them, send them to me. I'll research them. The Kryptoneers team, 10 of us, will research it together. And we don't really, I don't stand behind anything because I'm not running it. But if I were to tell you to look at something and, dive into something and take a look, I would suggest OHM. You asked, where do we stake OHM? If you just type Olympus, what was it? It's Olympus DAO. If you
Olympus
Google
DAO.
that, yeah, if you Google that, it'll pop up, and it looks like you've got two Greek gods, standing next to each other on their website, and that is their site. The way that you purchase the token is you go on your MetaMask, you open up Sushi Swap as another window, you connect your MetaMask, and you buy your tokens directly through Sushi Swap. And then you go to the website, you connect your MetaMask to the website, and you stake your tokens. It is simple. I mean, it's as simple, I would say, as doing, for example, strong nodes. You buy the tokens, you go to the site, and you stake them. There it is right there at the bottom. So again, not nodes, but in a potential financial investment opportunity. Take a look.
One thing I want to add to that, because when I was first looking into OHM, I had to decipher this. There is a copycat company called OHM Coin. That's not the same thing. They got literally the exact same logo. And I think their website is ohmcoin.org. That's not the same token, just to let people know when you see that. Because like they used the Greek god symbol and the whole same thing. They literally copied their whole thing. One thing I wanted to mention too is a lot of people would look at it and say, well, because I had the same question, and I read an interesting article that I'll post on Twitter later, but how sustainable is that yield? That's like what everyone's wondering. Is this like on its way down? Where am I in the kind of the lifespan of that? There was a June 2020, I'm reading this, a June 2021 analysis by Glassnode, and I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with Glassnode. And they calculated that OHM would be able to pay out a 40,000% APY for 180 days. And that's given on the size of the treasury and the amount of OHM staked at that time. That was 2 months ago. So if 40,000% is sustainable for that period of time, 17,000 is even more sustainable. So, obviously sustainability is always going to be a concern, but I would not be overly concerned about that, at least not right now.
So I'm gonna just chime in real quick because for me it's 4 a.m. and I'm really tired. So I'm just gonna mention all the different nodes and physical nodes that I'm looking at, and then I'm gonna go to bed if that's okay. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And link yourself if you can. Put your link that you were talking about up so that people can search you out and look at your content.
Oh, the blog's not ready yet. I'm still working on it, but I'm just gonna give people early access to the different nodes that I'm gonna be talking about in my blog. So I'm looking at Akash, Beacon, which is kind of a high risk because the liquidity is really bad. DAG, DeFi, Divi, Deeper Network, the ESSX, Elron. I have Flitz, Gala, Helium, ICP, which I think is Internet Computer. I think they have a physical node as well. You have Merge, Pack, State Cube, SRX, Theta, Threefold. I think it's called Threefold, TFT, XDC, and ZNZ. So those are the different nodes I'll be talking about in my blog, and maybe people can start researching them on their own if they're interested. And that's all I got. So
thank you for
thanks
that.
guys for having me. I'm off to bed now.
Yeah, man. Have a good one, and thanks for your contribution.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming out, man. I really appreciate it. And if you guys don't know, the node catcher actually helped me, put this all together. So this wasn't just something that happened overnight. He helped get me in contact with a lot of the people that you see here today. So I really appreciate your help with that.
No problem. All right, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, man. Have a good night.
Have a good one.
See you there.
One of the nodes that he brought up that we've discussed at length on Kryptoneers is DAG. I don't know if anybody in this group is familiar with DAG. Does anybody else know about DAG? Because if so, I'll let you talk. But DAG is kind of ridiculous, and it has a lot of potential. We're, in general, when it comes to, investing projects, I'd say we're on the very bullish end for that project. Anybody aware of that?
I was just gonna ask you, excuse me. I was just gonna ask you, like, what is it? What is the use case for a DAG?
Oh man. Well, it's a
Is it
long
that
story.
bad?
No, it's the use case is actually pretty ridiculous. So I'm gonna butcher it. People are gonna destroy me for this, but I'll do my best. So, um, the Department of Defense and the Navy were trying to find a way to communicate on secure communications. So you already know where I'm going with this. If you know anything about blockchain, you know you already made the jump in your brain. How can we communicate and not have people hack our communications? Well, blockchain would be pretty cool, right? So they kind of made their own blockchain for communications and for sending data, and they made it way, way faster and way more efficient than what, like for example, Ethereum is doing. And then they decided that they wanted to open that up for multi-purposes. They allowed people to, they crowdsourced their nodes with AWS, Amazon Web Services. And if you get involved in that project, some of the things that you are getting involved in is government and Department of Defense contracting. It's if you're going to think of a client, that's a pretty good client. I don't want to get too deep into it because I don't know as much as I probably should on pushing that project, but I will tell you that the potential for that project, you know, we're looking at several times over. You know, this is one of those projects that has the potential to go to the moon and back. So give yourself a chance to look at DAG nodes. I think it's 250,000 DAG you have to collect to stake. Grant, do you know what the current DAG stake cost is? I think it's somewhere in the range of $50,000.
I'll pull it up for you. Hang on one second.
So yeah, you have to collect 250,000 DAG to open one node, and then once you open that node, that node goes forward, and you know you collect your returns on that. So not only would you collect returns on the node, you also are looking at the token value, and the token value since inception has gone up pretty darn good. So it's a good indicator that the value of that token can continue to rise.
Yeah, we're looking at about 57,000. Some of the chat has beat me to it.
All right, awesome. So yeah, DAG. DAGs, I mean, obviously, you know, people are gonna, you know, that's a large investment, and I completely agree with you. It is a very large investment, but that's also a sentiment that's driving that price too. If you have to buy 250,000 DAG to open a node, think about the amount of people that are purchasing that token in order to get to that node. So it's kind of incentivizing its own token value. Sale, you know, buying pressure and selling pressure. They created their own.
All right. Before we get out of here, I don't know if anyone has anything else. You know I threw up something. I know, Chris, you had some stuff about SRX. I don't know if you want to share about that.
Yeah. You know, I think SRX is probably one of the newer nodes that everyone is kind of working themselves to get towards. I had made a guide on my Twitter, and it's still on there. It's a pinned tweet, so anyone can just look at it. But I had made that, and no lie, ever since I made it, I probably had about 50 to 100 people in my message, like direct messages. But you know, I don't mind helping. I think that's what it's all about as far as the community, helping each other, and I see that a lot of people were really wanting to get. Basically, they wanted this, you know, and I didn't mind helping. I can say I tell people all the time, like, if you're not comfortable with coding, it's going to be a pain. I know one of the big issues was the current reputation, waiting hours just to get your reputation to an actual value. Some people were very frustrated that you know, they'll get their VPS running, and then they'll run the SRX node for maybe like an hour or two, and they still see not a staker where the current reputation is. But it really is a patience game. But like I said, it's still on my pin tweet. If anyone wants to look at it, take a look, or make a node. You see my username. I'm sorry. Yeah, my username is LeftyChris13, so you can look at it. But I feel like that node's pretty promising. I mean, it literally, I don't even think it's been a month, and the price has jumped from what, 35 cents to $1.80 or so.
Yeah, the price is up there. It was $1.60 before we started the stream today, or $1.66. So the price has gone up, or $1.73 right now. Price has gone up quite considerably.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I literally, the very first node, how I even made the guide, you know, shout out to Mr. Blockchain 22. You know, he has his own YouTube channel. He has a guide, a step-by-step visual how to make it. I based my guide off of what he had, basically how he made the video, but I noticed that there are just a few steps that I don't think he like covered all the way. So I just wanted to make sure that I just covered all ground with the guide. And then one of the things is, I know I use Windows, but I also have a Linux laptop. So I know Linux and Windows, they have their own separate, OS systems and how getting into the terminal. So that was probably one of the bigger issues. And then I started seeing people message me not to leave out Mac, so I tried to make sure not to leave out Mac members. I tested it with Linux. I did Windows first, then I did Linux, and then I had 2 people confirm that the guide did work for the Mac users as well. So that's the reason why I went ahead and just wrote detailed step-by-step instructions and just put it as a pinned tweet for anyone that's running basically any OS.
Well, speaking of guides, if anybody in the chat is looking to create a strong node, I left the link to a setup guide I made for creating a strong node. And I have the passive income blog inside of there also, so you can check out that if you want.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think we lost you.
So I can't disclose too much of the information, but I would just recommend everyone, if you're following me or know anybody who's looking for more passive income opportunities, to keep a close eye on what I tweet and what I put out, because I'm very vigilant and trying to, I missed SRX. I didn't really get up on it. But when I do see a new opportunity that I know, I like to focus on things that I know is more affordable. Hello? I like to focus on things I know that's more affordable for the everyday user. And something like DAG, I would definitely get into, but I can't afford that. And I know there's a lot more people like me. So, like I said, there's a new opportunity that I see coming, and I can't share it yet because it's not all the way there. But once it is ready, I'll just, I'll be ready to share another opportunity I have my eyes on right now. I wish I could share it now, but I can't. Sorry.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. My stream went down, so I probably started talking and then it dropped. I apologize for that. But so on the Kryptoneers, we actually make videos and how-to videos weekly for all of our members. So if you join, and even if you've never been in cryptocurrency before, if this is your first video, which that'd be pretty crazy if this is your first video, you get to stumble across us. But if you're not very confident in crypto, we have how-tos from the most basic things as how to open up a Coinbase account, or how to open for example, a KuCoin account, all the way to how to open a strong node, step by step, from opening a MetaMask account all the way through actually creating the node. So, hats off to you guys for making that content, because we've been making that content. I'm making videos, and it is not easy. It's not easy to make those videos, guys. So when you guys watch these videos and you get help from people like Lefty Chris and and all these guys that are on our panel. It takes a lot of work. So, make sure to give them their dues because they've earned it.
It really, like, just to follow up, it really does. Just to even get that guide going, I spent a lot of time writing that. I'm not even gonna lie. I think just from me actually making the first node and then writing it up probably took me somewhere around 5 or 6 hours just to make sure that it was crystal clear for everybody. And I know it still was some steps that some people got lost on, but yeah, shout out to you guys, really, the creators that make the YouTube videos, to make the blogs. That takes a lot of time and effort.
Right. I want to piggyback on that right quick because a lot of people are like, why aren't you getting into SRX? Why aren't you getting this? And it takes, like they just said, it takes a lot of work to put together something like that. And the thing is, you have to go back a lot of times and restructure those blogs and those videos because you missed something, or people are like, many people come at you with the same question. You realize, well, if I go change this, then they'll fix that problem. So it's a lot involved, but I do it because I like to help people. I mean, it's a passion, and especially that I've learned from what I've learned about cryptocurrency since 2000. I would say 2018, but it was like between 2018 and 19. And since then, I've learned what I learned, and I see that it's a lot of new people coming into the space, and it's a lot of people have very simple questions that they don't understand, and so when having people like us here to be there and help people see better and understand what's going on is it's better for the space because just pushing forward.
Awesome. Well, again, we're getting pretty late. We've been going for a little over 2 hours. I appreciate everyone's time here. If there's anything else, a few more parting words. I know I brought Corey on. She's a member of Kryptoneers. She has a few parting words. So I'll leave it for the panel if you guys have anything left. If not, I think Corey's going to close us out.
I just want to say thanks for thinking of me. Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun, and it was great seeing, it's kind of an interesting world we live in, even before all this stuff last year. Social media, it's like oftentimes you're responding to people and we tend to forget there's a real person on the other side. And a lot of times people say things that they would never normally say to an actual person in the real world. And so it's great to see you guys, see your faces, say hello. And really love interacting with you guys on Twitter, and love learning from you guys and sharing what I'm learning. And I just want to thank you again for having me on. This was a lot of fun and really appreciate it.
Same thing here. Thank you guys for having me on. This was actually, I'm very humbled about this. I'm going to show everybody in my family after we're done with the stream.
Yeah. Man, I'm still like, just mind blown. That's the fact that I'm like actually able to, be here. I was
David Moss said your name, Chris. David Moss said your name, right?
That too. Yeah. No, I was gonna tell Node Baron, like, I would thank him personally, because like he kind of was the one that actually got me really into nodes in the first place. Like, I remember it was back in March. In December, I was looking at Gala, and I didn't pull the trigger. I saw it was back then, I think it was like $700 for a Gala node. 3 months later, the price shot up to $7,000, and I was so hurt. And so I just tweeted, "Hey, anyone know of any other node opportunities?" And Node Baron literally hit me up in my private messages and was like, "Hey, you should look into Strong." And everything literally just flourished from there. So I'm very grateful, and I'm very grateful to actually be able to sit here and talk to every one of you guys. And I definitely want to do something like this, more of this in the future.
Yeah, I think, I will, I'll bring Corey up. Hopefully she's ready. she's going to talk about a little bit about what we plan on doing as far as podcasts in the future and having them a little bit more regular. And before Corey starts, just a side note, and I know we've lost a couple of viewers and maybe they'll come back and watch it. I am actually talking with Dan, who is the face of Exidio, who is basically DVPN's face. We know DVPN, the protocol, the project is decentralized, but Dan is kind of their spokesperson. So I'm in the process of talking to Dan now, and hopefully we can get him on for an AMA to talk about DVPN next week or the week after. So Corey, go ahead and take it away with the information you have about our future.
Hey guys, I just want to say what an amazing panel and AMA this was. I was so humbled. You guys are the best. It was such a prestigious panel. David is truly one of the greats. He's extremely humble for a person as successful as he is. And I'm really proud to be part of the Strong Protocol. And it's basically because of Kryptoneers, because of Crypto Sensei, Rob, aka Rob Doyle, that I got involved in the Strong Protocol. And I haven't looked back. And as I said in the chat, I can't believe that I'm making money while I sleep. You know, I used to think that was only something that, you know, very rich people could do. And with Strong, I'm able to be one of those people. And that's an amazing feeling. So if you enjoyed this AMA, if you enjoyed the content here, I invite all of you who listened in or who will hear this later on a recording to join in with us for Saturday. Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern will be our first podcast, but we'll be doing daily content, just reviewing the news. It's going to be called it's going to be called Around the Clock. And we'll be just reviewing what's new in crypto, the trends. We talked about Ohm and Strong tonight, a little bit about Ohm tonight, but we'll be getting more into detail on what those opportunities are. There's big things happening in the NFT space, as all of you might be aware. The metaverse is coming, so there's so many amazing things coming down the pike, and we want to make everyone aware of those things and inform them as best that we can. So if you'll join us Saturday at 4 p.m. and then after that, we'll be starting on Monday with a broadcast every day around 8 p.m. just talking about the news, and there's so much of it. So thanks again for everyone that participated in the AMA today and for everybody that listened in. Make sure you jump into our Discord. I left the links in the YouTube chat for the Discord room. If you didn't get a chance to leave your ETH wallet address, or you were uncomfortable with leaving it in the chat, come on into the Discord and we'll make sure that we get hold of that. So thanks again for everybody who participated in any way.
Do you guys have a link for the Discord in the chat?
I do.
Yeah, I just dropped it too.
It should be there in the YouTube chat. Okay, great.
Yeah, and for content creators and people that are on the panel, I mean, we've obviously lost some, but feel free to contact us and talk to Grant and Rob. You know, content creators that, you know, want to get in. You know, there's always a space because we're all trying to do the same thing. So, you know, keep in touch. Let us know what you're doing, and you know, if you want to participate, you know, we can have a conversation about that.
Yeah, just contact me, jump in on the newscast, the podcast anytime. We'd love to have you.
Well, you guys, I'm going to have to go, and I just appreciate everybody's time, and I had a great time here, and I plan on meeting with you guys somewhere in the future and possibly doing this again. Hopefully we can. And I'll be checking out Kryptoneers.com to check out your guys' program and using the Strong 50 code. And I appreciate everything. Good night.
All right. Good night, guys. We appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and shut her down. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Take care. Thanks.
All right, take care.
See ya.
Thank you.